Okay, Danielle. So you been doing this business for 6 years nearly, right?
Yes, that's right.
And how is your transition being so far? You wanna tell something about you?
You want my personal journey?
Yeah, your personal and professional journey in terms of business. So
All right. Well, as you can hear by my accent, I'm here in Australia, but I live in Sydney. But I run a business that's at the south of Tamil Nadu, just north of Pondicherry
yeah,
in India, and I own that business.
right.
I started the business from scratch, and um, when I first went there, I met 10 ladies, and I couldn't speak Tamil, and they couldn't speak English, and we just looked at each other, thinking, "What are we going to do now?" But the hands and eye expressions, you can communicate quite a lot, and I started this business on a series of opposites, so the ladies could understand yes and no, and they quickly learned that this Indian head shake um, that went everywhere in my culture, that means I don't know. So we became very definite. Is it yes or is it no? So as I said, I built this business of a series of opposites. It's yes, no, same, different, up, down, front, back. And because it's a business that specialises in hand knitting, we had the other opposites, knit purl, which is jargon to that medium.
Yeah,
And then we got an English translator in, and
yeah,
I grew the business from there.
right, right. So you find it very intriguing with the people working with you, because most of the villages in India. I mean, I'm from India, so most of the villages from India, they treat you very family like. When you go there, so it's very interesting to see the transition from this society to that society. How did you find? What was your experience in that?
Um, it's a good duality that you raise, because, yes, they welcomed me like I was a part of their family, and their personality is very warm and loving. But on the other hand, I'm the business owner and I need to be the boss. And so I learned, well, I didn't learn, it's a natural skill to straddle those two mediums, that I can very easily chat with them about their personal issues, and then it is, and now back to work. Can you please look at this? What date will this be completed? And the dualities of those need to be balanced, both to
Sure.
build a rapport with the ladies and
Yeah.
to run an efficient business.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for
We're
sure.
probably one of the best hand knitting units in the world, so the standard is very high. So I'm quite strict with what they do, as well
Yeah,
as to be very supportive and loving.
yeah. So I believe you bring that professionalism and the detailing of our Australian culture, which is we are very good at that. And you bring their EQ emotion in that, and it's really good combination. When I look at your website, this is the feeling I got it. Like the professionalism and detailing, and the Australian beauty and Indian beauty combines. It's amazing to see, for me especially. I was really very intrigued with the overall your offering and business model. So
Thank you. In India, as you know, the ladies, traditionally all over India, not just in Tamil Nadu,
yeah,
handcrafts are very much respected.
yes,
It's probably one of the rare countries where the art of handcrafts and being a skilled artisan is really respected. So India is the obvious country to run a business like that, to have the world appreciate high-level artisan work.
yeah, yeah,
And the ladies take great pride in their work. They've probably never had to operate under such discipline, that I
yeah.
am very, very strict with what happens with their hands and their mouths and their mind. um, but it's like being a parent, with firm guidance.
Yeah,
You thrive and you learn to be very proud of what you create.
for sure, for sure. If I remember my childhood, my mom, okay, she was very particular that all girls should be educated, but she was making sure that before my marriage, I know everything like knitting, sewing, everything, so that nobody should complain about her daughter that she doesn't know this and that. Like she wanted to make sure everything we learn, and it should be naturally happening in day-to-day life. So it is like in everyone's lifestyle kind of thing, you know.
Yes, and I guess parents don't do that now, what I call the modern Australian generation, but every generation, including my grandmother's generation, thought they were the modern generation. So it doesn't really matter which country you live in. Each generation always thinks that they're, more progressive than the generation before. But certainly here in Australia, we're quite forward with that sort of thing. And it was my grandmother who taught my mother, yes, before you get married, you have to be able to cook and sew and do all those traditional female tasks. And yes, the ladies are very much still in that era.
Yeah. That's interesting. Especially in Indian villages, this is the thing. So you come from a very affluent developed country like Australia, and you have chosen to move to the lesser developed country and establish your identity, company identity, I would say, and your professionalism there. Tell us a little bit about your journey, what you discovered actually in India, which actually helps you to stay there. Like going and trying and staying there. Do you think it's two different things?
No. I started the business from actually quite selfish means. I had a hand knitted brand in Australia. As you know, Australia is very famous for merino wool, and I thought it was the perfect partnership.
Yeah.
Hand knitting, Australian woman, Australian merino wool, Australian design. And I thought that this was an ideal product to launch on the market to commercialise hand knits. So, of course, through the years, Australia has, and many countries around the world, have commercialised it before. But in this instance, what prompted the move was one of the governments here in Australia made it not legal to employ contract workers in the fashion industry. So I had never, actually I lied, I had been to India once before as a tourist up the north.
Yeah.
But when I arrived and met these ladies, my first visit was for 3 weeks. Yeah. And I quickly realised that I had a life filled with great opportunities.
Yeah.
And I could provide a lot of opportunities that would not be available under normal circumstances to these ladies, and I could provide a lot of opportunities to them. Yeah. So my own journey went from knitting for my own brand, knitting for lots of brands, because that's how I realised that I could employ a lot of people. Yeah. And whilst initially the aim was just to employ a lot of people, through the years, I've realised the impact of having long-term consistency there. Yeah. So it's changed lives, and you can see the lives changing more and more each year that we are there. So every village we go into, we break the economic cycle, the financial cycle, because we employ somewhere between 80 to 90% of all the females in that particular village. So all of a sudden that village has a large amount of money extra coming in that it didn't have.
Very interesting.
So the whole village becomes what I call more mobile upwards. So they upgrade their house, they get in builders, they get in painters, they get in tilers, they build new houses. So all that is happening economically in the village. They spend more money on food by default. They do all those things. And then in the education cycle, of course, now these ladies have money to send their children to school, and that's an opportunity that they did not have for themselves. So the education cycle is also broken every time that we go into a village. And over time, the most interesting one for me, like I did not set out to break these cycles. This is just an ongoing flow that's
Yeah.
been absolutely fantastic to watch as an outsider. But over time, what I find really interesting is that we've also breaking the domestic violence cycle.
Oh,
That
yeah.
when, as you are probably aware, in remote Indian villages, most of the men are alcoholics. And it is tradition that both the mother and the father really belt hard their children and slap their children quite physically. And they consider that a normal way. They don't know any other way. And the men actually, I don't think there's one lady that works for me that I have not seen black and blue and crying at work because her husband, if they're married, has beaten them.
Wow.
So through the years, before they come to work with me, most ladies have never had to make a decision for themselves. They do what their parents want, and then they do what their husband wants. And all of a sudden they come to work and they have to make decisions from day one. Is it the same or is it different? And they look at me for the answer and I don't give it to them. So they learn to think for themselves, and then we promote from within, and they learn to run their groups. So they learn to know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And, for me, hearing the ultimate that they can now tell their husbands what's acceptable and what's unacceptable, and they can say this behavior is inappropriate, do not hit me. So slowly, as I said, we're breaking the domestic violence cycle as well.
That's great. Good
So
to know.
hand knits are having a very far-reaching impact.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, of course, it's most of the handicraft. And when you become independent, it's like, it also gives you a mental strength for sure. I haven't seen in my family ever, to be honest. It depends on which kind of part of India you are going. But I haven't seen much of the violence in my village. I'm from a village, and my village is like, most of the houses are actually someone my relative. So it's a very old village, so there is always one another house is my relative, like someone from 5 generation, like my father's great grand father is there, and we can just walk in that house, right? So I grew up in a community where like everybody was actually asking me, where are you going, why are you doing this, go straight to school, like that kind of thing, because everybody was some kind of a parent, right? So it kind of built a strength in me, in that sense that confidence was always there. So when I came to city, I find more insecurity than actually when I lived in the village. So depends on the which village you actually target. And I'm from the UP, so it's a very different aspects of living. Each state has a different thing in India.
Which state are you from? Where are you?
I'm from UP.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, UP has different kind of a violence.
Yes.
Every state has a different thing. It's a different challenge, a different aspects. But where I grew up, it was very close community. My surname is Mishra, and my village name was Mishran. So you can imagine that mostly Mishras will be there. So you on a mission turning some of the India's poor rural, which you just mentioned right now, and you making them more you bringing that entrepreneurship, or you think it's like is this just the sheer idealism or a good business sense you are developing in them? How do you see them?
No, they're not the entrepreneur. That's me.
Yeah,
they work for me, and we don't give them their own business. It doesn't work like that. They're employees. And I don't actually use that word, the P word that you used, poor. Yeah. I think that's very much a relative term. They are very rich in their hearts, and they're very warm, lovely people who have not had a similar opportunity. They might be poor or lacking in education, but financially I don't refer to them as with those sorts of words, and we're not there to teach them to be entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Yeah, as you said, it is not a non-profit organization, it's a profit organization. But yeah, the way you explained, it's actually changing people's life as well, and on a very micro level, isn't it? So
well, we're changing lives a lot, both at the micro level and the macro level. Of course, in order to do it individually, we work and have quite detailed conversations with the ladies.
Yeah.
But the macro level is that they go home, and most of those ladies cook and feed for, their father's family or their mother's family as well.
Yeah.
So they influence everybody in their family under that roof, which can range from, 7 to quite a large family, as you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
There's a lot of people there that are influenced along the way.
Yeah. So what are your biggest challenge in your mission? Do you feel any challenge, or do you have any challenge?
Well, every business has a massive amount of challenges, right? It doesn't matter whether it's a startup or established business. That's the way businesses go.
Yeah.
You always have to adapt and change. Right now, because of the COVID, one of the things is that I'm not flying there, but, my philosophy is quite firmly planted in the old saying, there's an upside to everything in life. So because we can't go, we've tightened our systems massively, and for the better, because, that enables us to scale even more.
Yeah, for sure. So you are targeting other villages, or you're just focusing on one village or one particular area?
No. Before COVID, we had 5 villages. Right now, because of the lockdown, we're operating with 2 villages.
Right.
But, the world is heading for a big change. So over the next 12 months, we'll just focus on keeping those 2 villages. And then when we start to turn around again, I believe we're well placed, because the world actually wants artisan products.
Yeah.
And I believe we'll just go from strength to strength once the economy of the world starts to turn around again.
Yeah, people are moving towards more sustainable product, which is good. It's people are very more conscious compared to my generation and previous generation towards the nature and environment. I'm pretty sure these handmade things are gonna be gaining another popularity very soon, isn't it? Do you think so?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. So I would like to understand, is there one thing that you would like to recommend towards the women entrepreneurs if someone wants to follow you in some ways? You want to say something to them?
If females want to be an entrepreneur,
yes,
they just have to hang on to the ride very tightly. It's a big roller coaster, and there's a lot to learn, and you go through a lot. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of resilience, plus a lot of knowledge.
Sure. And do you want to say, if you have to say one thing to the audience, what would you like to say?
If they're an entrepreneur, they need to just stick with it and follow their heart and make big decisions and make sure you grow yourself along the way. But if it's a general consumer out there, of course, we'd love them to purchase one of our hand-knitted products. We hand-knit for many corporates. We hand-knit corporate gifts. We hand-knit corporate logos. We hand-knit for runway brands. As long as it's hand-knitted, we do it. So if you'd like to engage us, please do.
For sure. And how they can find you?
It's on our website. We have a contact page on our website, www.coco.global.
Sure.
COCO stands for Knit One Garment, Change One Life.
Right.
So our website is coco.global.
Right. And you are also active on social media?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so we will put all your social media and website under our description. People can follow you through there. If they want to buy your product, they can contact you through your contact page, isn't it?
Yes, we sell some things directly to the consumer, but if they want us to knit for B2B, for corporates, please contact us directly.
For sure. And you also help e-commerce people as well. Like if somebody wants to use your product and sell through their e-commerce platform, do you also engage with them? It's again the same.
Yes, absolutely. It's the same thing. As long as it's hand knitted, they can engage us to make the product.
For sure. Thank you. Thank you for talking to us. And to find Danielle, you need to check our details and you please contact. It's a very great initiative and it's very close to my heart for sure because I am Indian Australian. So I actually attach from both sides. I have a great attachment and I am so proud that this two things is working. I'm literally going to embrace this. Thank you so much, Danielle, for talking to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Priya. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.